Larry Swasey on your right. You got Jeskai Aggro against Sultai Reanimator. It should be fun to watch here between these two players.
And two players I know, I'm sure know each other quite well.
Yes, I have to imagine that's the case. The Swasey Shuffle, as Larry is known. Actually, a really good Facebook follow. He's got a good sense of humor. Kevin Jones going to start things off with a Temple of Triumph. You saw Swasey start with an Opulent Palace. Swasey will draw a card. Sidisi is what he's found. See what Larry's second turn yields. It'll just be a polluted Delta. He sacrifices. Perhaps we'll see a card like Satyr Wayfinder here.
Sec is not flush with 2-mana plays, so if he's sacrificing now, perhaps a Caryatid.
Caryatid, Wayfinder are the options, it seems. You're not going to find a card like Commune with the Gods here. This deck does like to cheat a little bit on lands, too. Given that it tries to play a higher curve and do some things up the curve, you know, it has 2 Hornet Queens. Whip of Erebos is obviously a mana-intensive card. It only plays 23 lands.
Yep. You have some mana creatures and...
See, this is a fun reveal. A Whip of Erebos, a Dragon Lord Tarka, a Den Protector, and a Swamp. There's nothing my deck can't do. In combination with an Opulent Palace. So Swasey is going to lose out on his Dragon Lord Tarka for now. He does have one more Whip of Erebos in his deck.
And Den Protector.
Yes.
Also, if that comes up, so some ways to get it back.
I'm a Den Protector guy. I bought my stock early. I've been a big Den Protector fan from the start. I think that card is fantastic.
I've heard the nickname Maternal Witness floated around, which I really like a lot.
Maternal Witness. I like that. That's good.
It's pretty great.
That's good.
That's pretty great, I think.
There's a Mystic Monastery. No nickname for that. Just a good land. We'll pass the turn back. Swasey will attack here for 1. There's land number 4, Sidisi number 1. Trigger on the stack, Lightning Strike. Which means that even if Swasey hits a creature, no zombie will be coming. He would have hit with 2 Coursers and a Hornet Queen. Lightning Strike stopped that.
But another Hornet Queen in the graveyard, which is where you want it.
Yep. There's Goblin Rabblemaster. I imagine Kevin Jones hasn't played too many turns without that card either. Mystic Monastery, the Goblin token will come across for 1. We'll pass the turn back Swasey's way. Temple the draw. There is the Temple. Take a look at the top card, Will Swasey. He'll leave that card on top.
Feels like this is probably a turn that Larry just has to take off and downfall the Rabblemaster.
Don't want to let that thing run rampant. That's exactly what he's going to do.
Maybe not the most efficient turn, but can't let that thing go unchecked.
Jones going to untap. He's got a Goblin token. Thunderbreak Regent in hand. Make it 2 now. And he will deploy 1 of those. The follow-up is another Mystic Monastery and a passing of the turn for Kevin. Number 2 on our Season 2 Open Series leaderboard. If things ended today, he'd be going to the Players' Championship. And we know he wants to go back.
And he has not had a lot of success so far in 2015. So it'd be very nice from Kevin's perspective to be able to cinch up the invite while a lot of his 2014 points were still operative. Because as the year progresses, a lot of those are going to fall off.
Well, that's a nice thing that the work that he did previously is still going to count for something.
For sure.
Because he put a whole lot of work in last year, that's for sure.
Now, Whip of Erebos here from Larry is a very threatening play on the other side of the table. I do not believe Kevin can get it off the table game 1, and him getting back a Hornet Queen at this spot is big-time trouble. Because Kevin's just all in the air, and he's got some removal spells. These are the exact type of hands where Whip of Erebos getting back Hornet Queen shuts the game down.
Yep. You've seen Kevin slow down quite a bit here. I think he realizes that he's in some serious trouble now. And another Thunderbreak Regent isn't bad. And he has a Mantis Rider in hand too, so typically going to the air against this type of strategy is actually a really good idea.
The problem is that, Larry now has the ability to contain the Thunderbreak regions without having to target them because of the Hornet Queen. So they lose a lot of their potency.
There's an attack for 4 by Kevin. The follow-up is another Thunderbreak region. He's got Wild Slash at the ready. He'll pass a turn back. Perhaps he is hoping that Swasey will not bring back that Hornet Queen this turn. I'm not sure if Swasey has anything better to do for the turn, but given Kevin's board, you have to imagine some insects are coming.
Yeah, I mean, he's got 3 flyers between the 2 he has in play and 1 in his hand, a Valorous Stance that can protect a creature, a Wild Slash that can remove a token, and so Kevin's plan might just be to say, all right, well, I'll slog through all the tokens here. It's going to require most of my resources, but the alternative to that play is Kevin just saying go, which is not a tenable position.
I don't think that's a great alternative,
No.
to say the least.
So he can use a lot of resources slogging through it, which I believe is what he's going to have to end up doing here.
There is Thunderbreak region. Very, very powerful card. We saw Chris Van Mater use this to great effect in Syracuse a couple weeks ago when he did win the Standard Open there. Saw 2 different green-red dragon stacks make the top 8 of the Pro Tour. So Thunderbreak region, very powerful card. We're going to go with Dragon Lord Atarka here, Will Swasey. Now the difference here, and trust me, this is still very powerful, is that the lifelink was going to occur with Dragon Lord Atarka when it is breathing fire on these creatures, and also when it hits Jones here in a minute for 8 points of damage. So this is still very, very powerful.
Yeah, on the surface, it looks like Larry's taking a bunch of damage this turn, but that's actually not how it plays out at all.
He's clearing up the board. He's going to gain 8. Let's make it 9 with that Satyr Wayfinder attack as well. Kevin might Wild Slash the Satyr Wayfinder, but it looks like he's not going to.
No, I think that Wild Slash is going to be on probably a Hornet token lockdown or just some other spot, maybe burning out Larry, but he's not using it on Wayfinder.
Carry added as the follow-up. Dragon Lord Atarka will be exiled thanks to the Whip trigger. And you see the life totals now is 22-9 in favor of Swasey. And Whip of Erebos is a very, very hard card for these Jeskai strategies to beat if they can't get it off the table.
I think it's hard for nearly every deck and standard to beat if you're letting it stay in play against a live graveyard.
Yeah. Mantis Rider, along with Thunderbreak region coming to the red zone, 7 points of damage dealt. So Swasey going to go down to 15. Satyr Wayfinder the draw. A lot of powerful things going on here for Swasey this game. And it seems like he is a favorite to win it, just has to make sure that he closes it out appropriately.
And 7 mana is pretty nice to have here as it allows him to activate Whip and cast Hero's Downfall if he's feeling so inclined.
There's your Whip activation. Here's Hornet Queen, which means 4 insects will be joining it. This is the more honest approach at Hornet Queen. We've seen this before. If you paid attention to the Pro Tour coverage or Sam Black's articles this week, the Hornet Nest Roast combination.
Oh, yeah.
That's a real humdinger from their green-red bees decks. Be interesting to see how much that deck picks up. It does look pretty obscure on the surface. There's Wild Slash going to go after Hornet Queen. The Mantis Rider going to block there. So Kevin looks like he's trying to preserve his life total here too.
Though I'm not sure what the long-term plan is here from this spot. I almost feel like that Wild Slash just needs to be saved for one of the tokens. Probably doesn't matter very much either way.
The draw here for Jones, don't get a great look. Looks like it was a Stoke the Flames. And Kevin does have a copy of Dig Through Time in his hand. I was wondering if he was playing that this weekend. He oftentimes is when he's playing Jeskai. He's always been a big fan of that card. He has 3 copies this weekend.
But I think at this point, there's just been too much damage done with the Whip of Erebos. Larry's life total is higher. He's got the better board. He still has even a Downfall in his hand that he hasn't had to touch yet.
It looks like he's going to cast it now. He'll go after Thunderbreak region. Yes, he'll have to take 3. But to get that 4/4 off the table is pretty important here. We'll see if Jones wants to use his Valorous Stance. And I suppose this is the best it's probably going to get.
Yeah, Larry is not really presenting any targets that matter at this point, so.
Swasey will untap. He'll take a draw step. Temple of Malady is what he's picked up. Swasey reaching for some mana here. We'll see what he wants to do with it. Could be another whip activation. Does have a Sidisi down there after all. That's what he's going to target. So now it looks like the trigger will occur. Again, Jones does have a copy of Stoke the Flames in hand. Or he could stoke that with the trigger on the stack. But again, I'm kind of with you. I'm not sure if that gets him anywhere.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, maybe Kevin wants to do it this turn, but I just don't see any of those kind of exchanges allowing Kevin to make some forward progress here.
And Kevin's going to let that happen. So Thoughtseize, Urborg, and Sidisi are the cards that are turned over. The zombie token is here. Two mana here for Swasey means that we'll see a Satyr Wayfinder. He's looking to go off this turn with Sidisi while it's still in the battlefield. That'll happen. A Satyr Wayfinder, a Sylvan Caryatid, another Caryatid, an Opulent Palace with the cards. Opulent Palace, of course, will go to the hand. The rest will go to the graveyard with Sidisi in play. A creature to go to the graveyard. So that means another zombie token. Next for Swasey is that Temple. That was his draw for the turn, so we'll take a look at the top card. Looks like that's going to stay on top. It's time to attack. And I think Kevin has done everything right in this turn as far as not using the Stoke the Flames, because he can't win, I think, just by stoking the Sidisi.
Exactly. I think that Kevin's odds of winning the game are a lot higher, hoping that Larry just misses off the Sidisi triggers rather than trying to kill anything at this point. So it looks bad that Larry has been able to do so much this turn, but there's no other plan here for Kevin. This is kind of what he has to do.
There's almost no good this turn.
Yeah.
That's a big issue. You see Thunderbrick Regent's going to block Sidisi. It had to attack anyway because it was going to leave via the whip trigger. So might as well get in some damage, gain some life while Whip of Erebos is in play. Kevin going to tap 3 mana. Looks like it's time for a dig through time. He's going to need some serious help right now. But this is a good place to start if you're Jones. Take a look at 7 cards. Now, one card to keep in mind here is a card like Soulfire Grandmaster.
Yeah, and that's another reason here for Kevin to not use the Stoke the Flames last turn. Is one of the ways for him to kind of claw back into this game is just by setting up Soulfire Grandmaster plus Stoke on the rebuy and be able to contain the damage race that way. It's a long shot because he's really behind on the board here, and Larry's going to be able to continue to pressure his life total and add things to the table, but a plan is better than no plan.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. And we can't forget, too, that if things go accordingly here for Kevin, he'll be able to rebuy Stokes, as you mentioned, but also those Stokes be gaining life.
Mm-hmm.
That'll keep his head above water. It will take a long time to shoot down all of these insect tokens, but again, this is better than nothing. And so Soulfire Grandmaster is an avenue for Jones to potentially win this game. He'll draw a card. Looks like Stormbreath Dragon is what he's picked up here. There is the Soulfire Grandmaster.
So this sets up the loop because he has 3 creatures plus a mana here to cast Stoke, and then 4 lands left over to rebuy.
It is pretty telling about this Jeskai deck that Kevin can potentially work himself out of this situation.
Yeah, it's a long shot, you know, just because Larry's board is so good at this point and Whip of Erebos is still in play. But Kevin is at least going to be able to play for a couple more turns. And Larry's creatures, even though he has a lot of them, they're pretty small. So the life gain from the Whip here, not a huge consequence. Larry does have the ability to sit back on defense with these Hornets, really prevent Kevin from mustering an attack and, you know, try to grind him out of the game with card advantage. Or he can go on the offensive like we're seeing right now. But Kevin's at least got a plan.
Yeah, he's going to block those zombies. That's part of the plan. Now we're probably going to see a Soulfire Grandmaster activation. And Stoke the Flames. So Kevin is probably just wondering, what am I supposed to shoot down at this point? I'd like to start eliminating those insects so I can start attacking. There's your Grandmaster activation. Now here comes your Stoke the Flames. So we'll see what Kev wants to target. If it'll be a zombie token or if it'll be an insect. It'll be a zombie, the one that was going to get through unblocked. So he's going to gain 4 life, and those 4 insects are going to come through. So we're neutral there.
Yep. 2 of the zombies leave the table here. Solid turn here for Kevin.
And Swasey's going to gain some life in this exchange. He'll gain 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But this is a good turn for Kevin. He didn't take any damage. He's cleared some creatures off of the table. And he is in a situation where he has to hope that Larry doesn't have very much. But if Larry doesn't have much, Larry's going to lose this game. If he doesn't have much going on. Yeah.
It's going to take a lot of turns because Larry's, life total is high and he's gaining a bunch.
Absolutely. But he's in some trouble here. Now, if he has removal spell for Soulfire Grandmaster, life is pretty good. And it looks like he is morphing a Den Protector right now. There's Opulent Palace. That's the land for the turn. And there's a passing of the turn. Jones will draw. Again, still with Stoke the Flames in hand. The land for the turn is a Plains. Other card is the Stormbreath Dragon. Kevin will come across here with the Flyers. And he'll just pass the turn back, get ready for what he did last turn.
Yep, he's got now just 8 mana, so he can do it au natural.
Yep. Den Protector is going to be, excuse me, I take it all back. It's Deathmiss Raptor.
Yep.
I thought it was the Protector. It is Deathmiss Raptor, which of course will bring a Deathmiss Raptor back with it. How about 2 of them?
Pretty solid.
Not bad at all.
I believe this is my first opportunity to say un-Megamorph.
Yes, congratulations to you.
I've been waiting for months now.
I know you have.
Really appreciate it. Thank you, Deathmiss Raptor, Larry Swasey. The gang's all here.
You can check that off the old list.
Yep.
This was the card that many players who participated in Proto Dragon's Dark here when they were testing said this was very impressive for them.
Yep.
That's no surprise. It's a heck of a Magic card.
It also just fits into a lot of different sort of shells. You're doing stuff with your graveyard? All right, that's great. Are you playing some sort of, green devotion strategy or Master the Unseen? This card fits in right here as well. Are you just playing a curve of green creatures that are trying to attack and block? Another fit. So very versatile card, can go into a variety of decks.
A timely Thoughtseize here for Swasey. As Jones was going to continue to have him in a pretty difficult situation.
Yeah, this is the one piece of the puzzle that Larry really needed to solve, was getting the Stoke out of the hand.
Yeah.
Now, Kevin has in terms of power level, has no analog in play to what Larry is doing.
No. So the Stoke is going to be rebought. Jones will gain some life. Now he'll have to show the hand from Thoughtseize. Stoke and Stormbreath Dragon are the options. I would imagine we'll see Stoke hit the bin.
Stormbreath Dragon is just, with all these Hornet tokens in play, just doesn't matter very much.
A lot of Death Touch over there on Swasey's side, too, so blocking is going to be very difficult here for Jones.
It's the whole gang.
Yeah.
The Raptors and the Bees.
Yeah, all the Death Touchers will come into the red zone. And I think Jones knows that I have no good blocks, so I am beat. Larry Swasey going to win game number 1 here over Kevin Jones. Sultai Reanimator up a game over Just Sky Aggro. Death Touch, very powerful keyword.
Yeah, that Kevin wasn't necessarily dead that turn, but the Stoke the Flames was the last thing he was clutching onto to let him stay in the game, and that Thoughtseize was just the nail in the coffin. Larry probably winning that game in a turn or two regardless, but the Thoughtseize made it very obvious that was going to be the case.
I think that's the situation where Kevin says, let's save a little time, shall we?
Yeah.
To the sideboards we will go. We will start with Kevin Jones and his Just Sky Aggro deck.
3 copies of Disdainful Stroke, 2 copies of Anger of the Gods, 2 copies of Negate, 2 copies of Erase, a Valorous Stance, a Glare of Heresy, an Elspeth, an Ojutai's Command, a Dragon Lord's Prerogative, and an End Hostilities. I like the Disdainful Strokes in this matchup. It's possible because of Deathmiss Raptor and all the other graveyard stuff going on. The Anger of the Gods come in this matchup as well because exiling is pretty important. You may see some erases coming as well to handle Whip of Erebos and also Courser Krufix and some other strange shamans Larry may have.
The other side of things here for Swasey, we've got 3 Disdainful Strokes, 2 Thoughtseize, 2 Bile Blight, a Drowned Sorrow, 2 Crux and Fate, a Soul of Innistrad, a Reclamation Sage, 2 Ashiok Nightmare Weaver, and an additional copy of Dragon Lord Atarka. The first one was good. The second one might be better.
Yeah, I think the Dragon Lord Atarka will be coming in here. The additional copies of Bioblight I like a lot in this matchup. I think you can bring in the Crux of Fate as well, although Kevin's presenting enough dragons and non-dragons, and it's not going to be a pure sweeper in the matchup a lot of the time. The only cards that I'm confident are going to be coming in here are the Bioblights, though. The other stuff is somewhere between good and average.
Sure. Bioblight's a pretty simple one to bring in.
Yeah, just Kevin's got a lot of 2/2s and 3/3s that are good, and you just want to kill them.
You saw Rebel Master last game. You saw Mantis Rider.
Soulfire Grandmaster.
Yep. A lot of targets there. So I expect those to come in as well. Both these players will sideboard and shuffle up here for game number 2. We'll talk about our Season 3 schedule here in the Open Series. We'll be underway before you know it. We're going to start things off with that Grand Prix in Charlotte.
Yeah, right after the Season 2 Invitational in Columbus, we'll have the Modern Grand Prix. We've shown you some information. We'll have more down the pipeline. A Standard Open Series in Baltimore, then Indianapolis, and then we go to Baltimore. We go to Chicago for the first time in Open Series history, July 18th and 19th. A Standard Open in Richmond, a Modern Open Series in Washington, D.C. Standard Grand Prix in London, August 14th through 16th. More information for that coming down the pipeline once we're done with Charlotte. A Legacy Open Series in Charlotte, August 22nd and 23rd, and then the Season 3 Invitational in New Jersey. Standard and Legacy as the Invitational formats, a 2-day 20K Standard Open Series, August 28th through 30th.
Going back to Jersey.
Yeah, I know. Got two.
A lot of good dates, actually, in Season 3.
Haven't been back in a while.
No?
No.
Have we been there this year? I don't think so, have we?
We have not.
No?
We've been to Philadelphia, and after Philadelphia, I was able to stay for a little while, but that's not the same.
Haven't been home for a little bit. Sorry, we'll show you a good time in Cleveland next weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And then, when we go to Jersey, you can show me the ropes
Oh, yeah.
around the dirty Jersey, the shore. Take me to the shore.
The shore is not particularly close to the tournament site. It doesn't take that long to get to the water, but if you take Edison East, you just hit Staten Island, which is,
Do I not want to go to
Staten Island.
Do I not want to go there?
So you want to drive a little bit south. You can get there in about an hour.
You're implying I don't want to go to Staten Island.
I'm not a huge Staten Island guy.
Okay. Don't know much about Staten Island. I want to go to Manhattan.
Okay.
Is that place sweet?
Manhattan's pretty sweet.
All right.
We can go there.
Of all the places that I've traveled in the world, and I've traveled a lot of places in the States, I've never been to New York,
That's surprising.
which is really... There aren't Magic tournaments there.
Yeah, it's so expensive to hold events
Yeah.
in New York City.
There are no tournaments.
Hotels, housing is really rough. I mean, it's a tough place to hold tournaments.
The One World Championships that they had there, I had to finals for college, so I couldn't go.
But the first major Magic event that I went to hang out at and watch was the Pro Tour in Madison Square Garden. The
There's
Team
a Pro
Pro
Tour
Tour.
there?
Team Pro Tour,
I
yeah.
didn't know that.
It was Mercadia Masks team draft.
And the actual garden?
Yeah, in the garden.
Wow. That would just be cool to me because I love basketball.
I stole hopefully this
Okay.
doesn't get me suspended.
Okay.
I stole a sign from that event. I might have it somewhere still. One of those, players go in this direction, up this way to go to the convention center. Just grab it as the train was closing back to New Jersey, just grabbed it, ran out.
Just can't control yourself.
Nope.
You're just an animal.
So I have that souvenir somewhere. I didn't think I was ever going to go to a Pro Tour again. I thought that was the only one I was ever going to get to see,
So might as well steal something from it.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness.
Whatever, it was Sunday. The Pro Tour was essentially over. It was just one less thing for them to pack up.
Oh, so now you're doing them a favor. They should probably be compensating you.
I'm doing both of us a favor.
Yeah. They should be compensating you for all the hard work you're doing.
Yep.
It's a good way to spin it back in your favor.
I got that sign somewhere.
Hope it's back home in Jersey. That's what I hope for. You're unbelievable. Just stealing from the Pro Tour.
That's a stretch. I think framing it that way is a stretch.
Just thieving the greatest tournaments in the world.
It's not like I took the trophy out of the trophy case.
Yeah,
or
if you could have, you may have.
The novelty check or whatever. I took a sign. They were going to throw it out anyway.
That's unclear.
That's what I told myself at the time. It seemed believable, right?
Just a thief running rampant. Have you stolen any signs on the Open Series?
No, I'm not.
Tell the truth.
I'm not.
I know you look at that J sign in the future match. No, I think Koth is a future match.
No.
No?
It used to be Tybalt, but they retired Tybalt, thankfully.
That's a good marketing move.
I wanted to bring the Tybalt table back and as the dead last table feature match,
Really, that's nice.
but
That's nice.
that idea didn't get much traction.
No. Whoever's at the last table gets to sit there.
Because you sit at the Tybalt table.
Really nice. We are underway here for game number 2 of Plains and an Island. There for Jones, an Opulent Palace here for Swasey. There's the land we're wasting. Now Sylvan Carry added. So Swasey with a little bit of acceleration. Jones will draw. Temple of Epiphany. Take a look at that top card. Looks like it's going to stay on top for Kevin. Pass turn back. And it looks like he sideboarded into at least one controlling card in hostilities.
Kevin, I think, goes to the control package for Jeskai Aggro a lot more than other people that I see. If I were in his spot, I would probably try to keep the deck as streamlined as possible and maybe bring in some Anger of the Gods because it's good against a lot of the stuff that Larry has going on. And the Disdainful Strokes are going to be great regardless. But going all the way up to end hostilities is a game plan I'm worried about because Larry can play the late game a lot better than Kevin can.
Temple of Triumph here for Jones. Top card going to stay on top from the Scry. You saw Disdainful Stroke take care of Swasey's Sidisi.
Now, with that said, there is a lot of small stuff going on in Kevin's deck that he can cut. You know, he doesn't need to keep in cards like Wild Slash, for example. So he's got some wiggle room to get a little creative with his sideboarding.
Satyr Wayfinder are going to reveal a Forest, a Swamp, a Temple of Melanie, and a Deathmist Raptor.
But I would still, in Kevin's spot, try to preserve my role as a straight beatdown deck. Some races, some Disdainful Strokes, and a good core of creatures. That's what I would want to try to do.
Forest is the selection there for Swasey. That'll enter the battlefield, and that'll pass the turn back. Jones will draw. Has the Thunderbreak region in hand. Mantis Rider now, too. That's land number 5 in Flooded Strand. And here is Thunderbreak Regent number 1. Swasey left that mana up for Hero's Downfall, so he will cast it. He'll have to take 3 to take care of that, but it's better than having to take 4 from it numerous times.
And these are the kind of trades where, you know, having the end hostilities makes me apprehensive. Because, you know, if Larry is able to blunt the pressure, end hostilities is unlikely to catch Kevin all the way up. Because Larry's going to have a lot of tools to work with after the fact. You know, his deck is so slow that he can't cast multiple spells a turn. He almost has no choice but to leave powerful stuff left over in his hand.
It's an attack for 1 there by Swasey. Looks like he does have a copy of Sidisi Undead Vizier in hand. We'll see if he wants to cast that right now.
Seems like a pretty good spot. I mean, I don't mind a 4/6 against Kevin having no board to begin with.
Yep.
And Mod Tutor on the house is pretty nice.
Not bad at all. He will exploit. So the Satyr Wayfinder's gone. Let's see what Swasey wants to search up here. Whip of Erebos always seems like a nice target in these situations. Whip of Erebos is so good in this deck.
This also doesn't seem like a bad spot for Den Protector. It's a little bit slow, but there is already a Raptor in the graveyard and a Hero's Downfall to get back.
Yep.
It's a pretty good base.
I think you might be able to assume that your Sidisi is probably going to die. So you might want to get that back too. Create a small little loop here.
So a lot of good options here. No backbreakers, but a lot of good pieces of value. And in the meantime, a 4/6 here is going to be pretty good. Not the easiest card for Kevin to get rid of. He's got a couple copies of Valor as stands, but other than that, he's dealing with red removal. So
Den Protector was the choice. There's Knockfield Palace and a passing of the turn for Swasey. So Swasey setting up for the late game very, very well here, which is something you talked about. Not sure if Kevin can play the late game as well as Larry can. That's a Mantis Rider. There's an attack for 3. Head back Swasey's way. Deathmist Raptor the draw. In for 4. That's a land. It's an Urborg. See what Swasey has now. Might be time to go morphing, perhaps.
yeah, he's picked up a Deathmist Raptor, which allows him to just play 2 morphs if he wants to.
Just make that end hostilities look good, that's for sure. I'll just pass the turn back. Just 1 morph.
Kevin with a race in hand as well.
He's ready for a whip. Another Mantis right over there, too. dig through time as well if we want to go a little bit longer.
I think Kevin needs to just keep playing to the board as much as he possibly can at this stage. Capitalize on, Larry's taking some shots here. He's at 13 now, maybe falling to 10. I don't think he wants to take it a turn off to take some time at this stage. Especially becomes a lot easier if he's forced to pull the trigger on End Hostilities. He might lose a creature in the process. You get another spell in the graveyard. So I think Kevin just needs to keep casting his stuff, and then if he gets around to a spot where he can dig through time later on, it'll be a lot cheaper.
He's going to search for an island here. So Kevin will give his deck a healthy shuffle. He'll serve in for 3 points of damage here. So not going to play the other Mantis Rider yet, it seems.
Respecting the possibility of Bioblight.
Completely understandable. I think maybe the thought process here is maybe I can get Swasey to put something else in the battlefield and sweep away with End Hostilities. Get to cast Dig on the end of Larry's turn, and then Hostilities everything away. Potentially. There's Murderous Cut.
Please come up to the stage once again.
Well, now this seems like a great opportunity to cast End Hostilities. If you're going to have it, now seems like the time.
And I don't think that Larry is upset with this exchange. And this is part of the reason I think that he played Death Raptor this turn instead of Den Protector.
Exactly. He just puts something else in the graveyard. If he gets swept up, it's not the end of the world. The Raptors come back when he unmorphs the Den Protector.
Hornet Queen the draw.
One of the big hits here for Larry is losing the Caryatid means that Dragon Lord Atarka is now not castable.
Yes, that is a hit and a touch on the annoying side, but I think that this turn is so good for Swasey.
Yeah, it's not the end of the world, but it is something to keep in mind. Before he had access to Dragon Lord Atarka, and for the time being, right now he does not.
Because now he gets to play the Den Protector, face down, he gets to unmorph it, return something, get those two Deathness Raptors back, and that's a heck of a turn right there.
And he's got some really good ones to get back too. Just the spells in his graveyard as well.
Yeah. I think Swasey has set up a pretty nice game here. He's going to have to take 3 right now from another Mantis Rider. He's down at 10. But the unmorphing of a Den Protector is going to bring a lot with it. Deathness Raptors will come back. He's going to want to make sure he gets that counter there too from the Megamorph. That could be important in this situation. He's going to get Murderous Cut back, I think.
Not a bad looking turn.
No, not at all. Gets to get back cut, kill all the stuff. And be in the enviable situation here if he does cast Cut this turn. To cut the Mantis Rider. And then he's got 2 7-mana spells in hand. And Dragon Lord Atarka and Hornet Queen. So now he's in the position where if I draw a land, it's good. If I draw a spell, it's good.
Yeah, everything is good at this point.
Yep.
A small consolation here for Kevin is the fact that this Mantis Rider dying is now the 6th card in his graveyard. So with the 2 mana left over, he does get the opportunity to dig through time.
He's going to take that right now.
Yeah.
I think it's smart to do it right now because he's playing Insult Reanimator.
Could have Disdainful Stroke or Negate.
Yeah, sometimes that deck has those cards in some varying numbers. Swasey, for example, does have 3 Disdainful Strokes in his sideboard. So I think it's very smart to do this now if you're Kevin. You're not working with perfect information for what to find, but I think you're working with enough information on what to find at the dig through time. Kevin going to take 2 cards from the 7 that he's looking at. The rest will go to the bottom. So now we're going to head back Swasey's way. 9 power in the battlefield, basically out of nowhere. Jones down to 5. Didn't get a great look at Swasey's draw step. It was just a hero's downfall, which is still okay.
That's great here. At this point, he's really only worried about another sweeper individual creatures or individual removal spells, that's not going to do very much for Kevin.
Kevin's hand Seeker the way, Mantis Rider among the options. Mantis Rider's where Jones will start. He'll come across here for 3 points of damage, or at least try to, but Swasey's going to cast Hero's Downfall. Says, I'm not even willing to take this hit. I want that creature off the table, please. And Kevin Jones is going to send a hand. Larry Swasey is going to win this match over Kevin Jones, 2-0. Sultai Reanimator will take care of Jeskai aggro pretty easily, it seems.
Yeah, Larry, I think, had a very nice draw there, a very resilient draw. I think Kevin's game plan for the matchup there, because he still has things like Seeker of the Way in the deck and so forth, he's trying to play a little bit of offense, play a little bit of defense, and hope that the fact that he's got a variety of different things to play around and a relatively high power level can carry the day. But his post-board configuration is not nearly as smooth or streamlined as Larry's, and Larry won pretty comfortably.
Yeah, it did seem like it was a pretty comfortable win for Swasey in that match. And, I like the adaptations that have been made to this Sultai Reanimator deck. You see it a little bit in Ross Merriam's build that he's playing, but you see it more so here in Swasey's build with Den Protector, Deafness Raptor, the splash for Dragonlord or Tarka. It really opens up what you can do.
Mm-hmm. And I'm not opposed to these sweepers altogether out of Kevin's sideboard, especially the Anger of the Gods, because he